Right, so here I am again with Dad. Hello, everyone. So, got some good feedback on the chat that Dad and I had about the Kinks. And today, Dad and I are going to talk about one of his favourite topics in the whole wide world. No, it's not alcohol, beer, or anything like that.
Close.
It is. Is it a distant second or is it a close second?
No.
Close second.
What?
Peter Green.
To what?
Alcohol, beer.
Oh no, Pete Green's first up there.
Peter Green's first over alcohol.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
You learn something every day. So Dad's a big Peter Green fan. Now, Peter Green, some of you might not know who Peter Green is, but I think you probably know who Fleetwood Mac are. Peter Green was actually one of the founders of Fleetwood Mac, right back in the 60s.
The founder.
The founder? Was he the founder?
He certainly was.
So how did Mick Fleetwood get his name in it?
Well,
where did that come from?
Peter Green took over guitar playing with John Mayall, who were probably the best blues band, or the only really known blues band around mid-60s.
Yeah.
Eric Clapton left to form Cream, and Peter Green took over playing blues with John Mayall, and John Mayall was a recognised bloke who'd have guitarists for a short while and then just move them on, sort of thing, you know. And Peter Green started playing, and when he started playing, he played with different drummers, and one of them, John McVie, was always there as a bass player. In fact, John McVie was the bass player with Eric Clapton at John Mayall. Okay. Eric Clapton left, John McVie stayed. Peter Green joined, and then Mick Fleetwood took over from a guy called Ainsley Dunbar, who's a drummer, right, who got his own band after that called Ainsley Dunbar Retaliation.
So what were they all called during this period? Like what was the band called?
John Mayall's Blues Breakers.
John Mayall's Blues Breakers.
Blues Breakers, yeah.
Okay.
Famous. John Mayall's famous blues. He's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the sort of pioneers of blues in this country. Not the first one, but, like one of the main people who took it to the fore and created the blues sort of revolution, if you like, of the late 60s, which Led Zeppelin came out of, and Free and all those sort of people came out, Rory Gallagher, they all came out of that sort of thing, out of blues. Rock, heavy metal came out of blues, really.
Yeah. It's rag blues.
Yeah, and with a little bit of help of Dave Davis and the Kings, of course.
Of course.
From All Down and All Night. But put the two together, and there you go. But yeah, Pete Green took over, and so the new drummer was Mick Fleetwood, and the bass player was John McVie, and Peter Green obviously made friends with them, and they had some recording time in the studio over. John Mayall sort of said to Peter Green, as Peter Green said graciously, said to him, "You can have 2 hours in the studio to record stuff that you want to do with John and Mick." So he did a couple of things that he'd written himself. One was called Greenie, which was done under John Mayall's name, but it was those three without John Mayall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very good instrumental. And they did that, and the song was called Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac, meaning a part of Fleetwood, Fleet, and McVie, part of McVie, Mick. So Fleetwood Mac, Mick Fleetwood, and Mac being a shortened version of McVie. See what I mean?
How is Mac a shortened version of McVie?
Because Muck stands for Mac, doesn't it?
Does it?
Well, it's a Scottish thing. Muck is like an Irish and Scottish. MC is just a short way of saying Mac. McVie. You can spell it some Scottish people spell their names M-A-C, but it's normally shortened to MC, isn't it?
I just thought it was Muck, MC, like
no,
Muck's Donald's.
Mac. Right, Mac? Got a light Mac?
Yeah. Mac. Hey, Mac.
I've got a dark brown overcoat, not a light Mac.
Mac. So it's M-A-A-C.
No, Mac. M-A-C.
Oh, I thought you said M-A-A-C.
No, M-A-C.
M-A-C. Mac. So
is this a discussion about
I just don't know where the hell the Mac
or is it about Peter?
Okay, Fleetwood Mac, I get it. Okay, so Peter Green, although it was his recordings and his songs, he didn't actually get a look in on the name of the band.
No, he did get it was his song, but
Yeah.
he just sort of called it Fleetwood Mac. what name? Well, you two are
Okay.
playing with me, so I just Fleetwood Mac. So,
All right, fair enough.
so but then he left to form his own band, and he took Mick Fleetwood, who he'd befriended a lot, took him with him. So he formed Peter Green's, and he called it Fleetwood Mac. And people say, why did he call it Fleetwood Mac if John McVie was still playing with John Mayall? And Mick Fleetwood said, well, he kind of knew that John McVie would eventually join him.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and he
That's
did
funny.
join him. What happened was John McVie said, I'll hang around with John Mayall for the time being because it's a steady job, we're well known, you're a new band starting, I might, it might be out of work in 3 months or something,
Well, especially if you knew there was like a revolving door of musicians with him.
Yeah, but with John Mayall,
With Mayall,
but
because it's not a steady job, is it?
yeah, no, but he
It's
stayed.
not-
But
it's
he
not
stayed.
job security, is
No,
it?
but he stayed with John Mayall because that was secure for him being the bass player. He'd been a bass player for about
Right.
3 years.
Ah,
there.
so John Mayall would get in guitarists
Yeah,
as opposed to bass players.
mainly got rid of the guitarists or
Right.
let them move on, shall we say?
Oh, okay. But
Right.
as bassists, it was kind of like it's slim.
Now then,
pickings.
then John Mayall started doing more jazzy sort of blues, and John McVie, famous quote from John McVie. In fact, he actually said it on telly when they interviewed him later on. What made you sort of take up Pete's offer to go and be the bass player in this new band? Because the bass player was Bob Brunning at first, so it's Peter Green, Bob Brunning, and Mick Fleetwood, and then Jeremy Spencer joined as a slide guitarist. So there was 4 of them, but Peter Green wanted John McVie in the band. And anyway, when John Mayall started doing jazzy blues, Mick Fleetwood sort of said, sorry, not Mick Fleetwood. John McVie sort of thought, sod this, don't like bloody jazz. In jazz, I want to play blues, not jazz. And he got on the phone to Pete, got on a call box, phoned up Peter Green and said, I'm in. And poor old Bob Brunning was down the road sort of thing, But he didn't mind, he probably told him it was only going to be standing sort of thing. Because Bob Brunning, this bass player, he was a school teacher at the time, headmaster or whatever.
Was he?
Or he became a headmaster, and he went round to answer an advert for a bass player for this group, right? Called it's a group, and Peter Green had put the advert in it, and Bob Peter Green, and he went round, he knocked on the door, and he said, "Oh, my name's Bob Brunning. I come around for the position of bass player in your new band." He said, "I'll come," and he goes, "By the way," he said, "Peter Green, that's a great name, that." He said, "It's like that Peter Green used to play with John Mayall, isn't it? He was meant to be as good as Clapton." And he went, "You idiot, I am that Peter Green." And that's a fact as well. Anyway, so then they carried on. So, yeah.
Well, okay.
But then
so
Peter Green wanted to drop, he called it Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, because that was 3 of them without Jeremy Spencer, because I think they played as a threesome for a little while before Jeremy Spencer joined. But, so they called it Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. But the record company, Peter Green wanted to just leave it called Fleetwood Mac. Right, because he was even those days he was quite sort of humble, didn't really want to be a star man. So but the record company sort of, well, people know who you are, Peter Green. So if we put Fleetwood Mac, no one's going to come and watch you. But if we put Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, say, oh, that's a bloke who used to play with John Mayall, who's really good, So that's what But after a short while, after the first LP, they just dropped Peter Green bit. Yeah. They were known as Fleetwood Mac, but nothing to do with the Fleetwood Mac now, obviously.
No. It's almost become just like a brand now, isn't it? Really. Well,
Yeah.
it's Mick Fleetwood.
It's pop music. It's pop, there's nothing wrong with it. It's good music. It's good.
I guess you could say they went their own way. But so talking about Peter Green.
Who is this bloke?
Talking about Peter Green. So now,
We were,
since I was very, very young, it's been obvious that you're a big Peter Green fan.
No.
Right. So what is it about Peter Green that drives you so teenage schoolgirl about his playing
He looked
or his
great.
music?
Good
Looked
look.
great.
Good look. He looked like had a sort of Jesus look, as they used to say at the
Jesus,
time.
okay.
He had that kind of, used to wear this sort of robe thing, like, almost like a Russian
And he was
peasant.
Jewish.
And he was Jewish.
Jesus was
And
Jewish.
he had a long beard and a long black hair, and he's quite a good-looking bloke. And he could play guitar.
Dad likes the
pretty
good-looking
good.
blokes.
Anyway, so, but his main thing was, as John McVie once said, he had so much soul. He's playing blues, but he's playing it with soul. He's not playing it like Clapton plays it like a machine, or like all these rock guitarists just go all over the place with no melody. Peter Green, one note was as good as 10 notes, you know, if he got the right note, and he used to play it with sustain and vibrato and stuff, and he just made the guitar sing, really, and he spoke for him. It was like his lead breaks were like what a singer would be singing in a melody, but he put it into the guitar almost. So, you know, black magic, got a black magic woman, and you got a do, same notes.
There's something I noticed about the Peter Green. The more I sort of looked into his music, like it's his feel. But it was his singing.
Oh, singing. He had a good voice as well, singing, but no one really thought of that at first.
No, but because he sings pretty effortlessly, but at the same time, with him singing effortlessly, he sang effortlessly quite high. And
he had quite a good range.
I don't think you understood that.
No, I didn't realise it at the
time. Until we started singing during lockdown. We started like
and I realised some of the keys he sang were quite high.
Playing Black Magic Woman in D minor.
Yeah,
we were like, no, that's too high.
Yeah,
and
Get Away with Green and Fleetwood. That's that's easier to sing. But Need Your Love So Bad's in quite a high key as well.
Yeah. I don't think he gets enough respect as a vocalist.
Oh, and I think people in the know, top musicians all know that he's a great singer, he's a great blues singer, great singer,
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Eric Clapton had a good blues voice. Now, Eric Clapton never thought he had a good voice, but he ended up being a pretty good singer. And I thought he had a good singer when he played with John Mayall, but he was a bit. And in Cream afterwards, he sung half the vocals with Jack Bruce anyway. So although he said he didn't really like his voice much, he still shared the vocals.
Sorry, what was that? Say the last bit again. Who shared the vocals?
Jack Bruce, was the bass player. In fact, Jack Bruce originally played with John Mayall for a short period of time as well. John Mayall used to, loads of people played with. Yeah, I mean, Peter Green played with Rod Stewart in a band.
I didn't like Rod Stewart though, did he?
No, he said he was a lazy bastard, which is probably true.
Yeah.
And there was a girl singer called Beryl Marston, and Rod Stewart was always shacking up with her. And
I thought he was shacking up with a nurse. There's a nurse he was seeing or something. But it was Rod Stewart. He probably had a whole ton of them. Shut up.
Sorry. No, only because of her knowledge, you know.
Oh, right, yeah. He had a fantastic, beautiful brain. Anyway, Peter Green. So Peter Green's... One thing you like about Peter Green also is his tone of his guitar as well.
Superb tone.
And there's some secrets to that, isn't there? I mean, not just... I mean, I think most of to be honest, everyone goes on about like the configuration of his pickups and stuff. However, I do think like pretty much 99% of it's in his fingers.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good guitarists say they've used his guitar and yet they can't make it sound like him.
No, I mean,
Kirk Hammett
from
really
Metallica has got his guitar now.
It still doesn't sound like Peter Green, but he plays in a different style anyway. But it's good that it's gone to a bloke who appreciates it, and looks after it. You got, but the pickups were supposedly put back the wrong way round or something, and it changed the tone. It might change the tone a bit, whatever. But a lot of people don't go along with that. They reckon it wouldn't make that much difference or something. It's still Peter Green playing it that made it sound. Because they used to play. Peter Green played. They reckon "Need Your Love So Bad" was played on a Fender Strat, and a lot of Les Paul purists say, "Oh no, it's a Les Paul sound," but who knows?
This some.
They used to use a Strat before he had the Les Paul, Peter Green.
I'll tell you, I've got a really good sound out of my Strat at the moment. I got a really good sound of it.
Have you moved the controls or anything? Can you move the controls? I suppose you could do, couldn't you?
Yeah, but I mean, its natural sound is just really, really nice. I ran it through a Fender amp the other day. Oh my god, it sounded inspiring.
I tell you what, it's a good article I was reading the other day about Brian May saying how much he admired. He admired when he was young. He used to go and watch Rory Gallagher play down a marquee. Talk about 1968. He's probably about the same age as Rory Gallagher, or about perhaps a couple of years younger. And he said he used to go. He had a residency every Thursday. Rory Gallagher would play down the Marquee. And he would
Rory Gallagher had a residency.
Yeah, Rory Gallagher, and he'd go and see with his mates. Go and see Brian May would go with his mates to see, and he loved Rory Gallagher.
Yeah.
And one time they stayed in. They hid in the loos, and they stayed in there till the place was shutting up. And they came out, and they managed to get to see Rory Gallagher. And I asked him, and Brian May said, "How'd you get that great, you know?" And he said, "Rory Gallagher was a really great bloke." He just sat him down and said, "Look," he said, "see that little amp, that AC30 amp?"
Yeah.
He said, "I got this box that goes through it, this special box or something or whatever, this effect box or whatever. Put that through that into my Strat." He said, and that's the sound basically. And Brian May apparently still uses the same idea of recording. He still uses an AC30 with this certain box, with other things as well. But he said he wanted to get that kind of nice, sweet sort of tone.
I've known numerous bands. And on stage, like at festivals, they have these walls of like Marshall amps and that, and they're all for show. And behind them, you've got a Vox AC30 mic'd up.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's what
Mind you,
using.
when you see Peter Green playing with Fleetwood Mac and you see Free and people like that, they did have stuff stacked up, and they did have big Marshall.
That's primarily because they needed the volume.
Yeah, and also they used what was it, Orange? I know Peter Green sort of played around with using Orange for a while. I think he went back to Marshall.
Yeah, we've used some Orange stuff in the past.
They look nice.
Bloody heavy.
Wishbone Ash used to use stacks of used to use Orange quite a lot. They sort of pioneered Orange, Wishbone Ash, in 1970.
Anyone using Laney? Any Laney stuff being used? I used to use Laney stuff.
It's mainly Orange, Vox, and Marshall. The only three that are around, really. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll do some more on Peter Green. That was a little bit brief bit of history, brief bit about.
What? Not now.
Not now. No. This is like almost like a 20-minute video.
People would be going to sleep.
People would be going to sleep. Maybe that'd be a new thing. We do bits of ASMR, send people to sleep. Good night, everybody. Sleep tight. Sleep tight. Goodbye.
Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha.
Oh, while the weather's lasting, I think we should keep this series up.
Get him off.
Right, everyone. Well, thanks very much.
Play with the traffic or something.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Say goodbye, Dad.
Bye.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.